These 10 grocery items will be impossible to find before end of March 2025. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Benjamin Franklin. Have you noticed certain grocery items disappearing from the shelves? It's not just bad luck. Supply chain experts are warning that by the end of March 2025, some essential grocery staples will be nearly impossible to find. Food prices have already surged by 15% in the last few months. Global shipping costs have skyrocketed, and unpredictable weather patterns are wreaking havoc on crop production worldwide. The signs are everywhere, yet most people aren't paying attention. In this video, the Journey of Wisdom will uncover the 10 grocery items that will vanish before the end of March 2025. These aren't just guesses, they're based on real industry reports, supplier insights, and alarming trends in food production. Make sure to stock up on these essentials now, especially number 7, it's a shocker. Let's get started before these items disappear from your local store for good. Number 1. Certain seafood options. Seafood lovers, brace yourselves, major changes are coming to your dinner plate, and not in a good way. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has just rolled out the strictest seasonal fishing restrictions in 15 years, not as a routine adjustment, but as an emergency effort to stop certain fish populations from collapsing entirely. Warming ocean temperatures and shifting migration patterns have thrown the industry into chaos, making it harder than ever for fishermen to reach traditional fishing grounds. One of the first casualties, wild-caught salmon. Alaska's fisheries have slashed their March permits by a staggering 60%, warning that population counts have hit dangerously low levels. If you're used to seeing those rich, pink fillets lining grocery store shelves, you might want to prepare for disappointment. By mid-March, they could be gone. And this isn't just a one-time shortage. Salmon numbers have been steadily declining for years, with the Columbia River Basin recording its worst spawning return in 3 decades. Only 38% of the expected fish made it back to their breeding grounds last season, a grim statistic that has already driven prices up nearly 30% since February. Some stores are even enforcing purchase limits, allowing customers to buy just 2 packages at a time to stretch the dwindling supply. Unfortunately, the trouble doesn't stop with salmon. If shrimp is your go-to protein, get ready for sticker shock. The Gulf Coast, a major hub for shrimp production, has been hit with a double whammy. Warmer waters have thrown breeding cycles into disarray, while a massive shipping container spill off Louisiana in January contaminated key harvesting zones. The result? Prices have already skyrocketed 40% since last month, and suppliers are struggling to keep up with demand. I recently spoke with a restaurant owner in New Orleans who was warned by her supplier that if she's lucky enough to get shrimp in April, they'll be the size of a thumbnail. The larger, premium varieties are already becoming impossible to source, and the problem is only expected to get worse. Crab lovers are also in for a tough season, particularly when it comes to the highly prized Dungeness crab. The Pacific Northwest crabbing season has been cut short by 6 weeks, a devastating blow to the industry. Warmer waters have pushed crab populations into deeper, harder-to-reach areas, and commercial hauls are down a staggering 62% from historical averages. A seafood shop owner I know in Seattle has already been told not to expect any more Dungeness shipments after March 15th. One veteran fisherman with 22 years of experience pulling pots described this year as the worst he's ever seen. And if you're a fan of lobster rolls, don't get your hopes up. Maine's lobster industry is struggling under new trap limits and shortened seasons designed to protect declining populations. With the Gulf of Maine warming rapidly, lobsters are migrating northward in search of cooler waters, which means Canadian fishermen are seeing record catches while their Maine counterparts are left scrambling. This shift is driving prices through the roof. Some industry insiders predict lobster could hit an eye-watering $45 per pound by late March. And if that's not bad enough, cross-border tariffs and transportation costs are making the situation even worse, pushing lobster further out of reach for the average consumer. So what's still available? If you're looking for something steady, farm-raised options like tilapia and catfish should remain relatively stable. Because they're raised in controlled environments, they're not as vulnerable to oceanic changes, though rising feed costs are still driving prices up by 10 to 15%. Frozen seafood will be around longer than fresh options, but expect those prices to rise too as consumers scramble for alternatives. If seafood is a regular part of your meals, now is the time to stock up. One smart move: check out international grocery stores. They often have separate supply chains from big supermarkets and may still have inventory when major chains run dry. And don't forget, seafood freezes. Well, properly wrapped fish can last 4 to 6 months without losing quality, giving you a chance to ride out the storm while supplies last. Number 2. Coffee. Coffee lovers, brace yourselves. Your daily cup of comfort may soon be harder to find than ever. Global coffee production has plummeted to its lowest level in 8 years, and the impact is already hitting grocery stores. Brazil, the world's largest coffee producer, is suffering its worst drought in decades, leaving coffee plants struggling to survive. Recent satellite imagery confirms that moisture levels in key growing regions are at critical lows, and many farmers report that young plants aren't even making it to harvest. This means the shortage won't just last for a few months, it could stretch well beyond 2025. Colombia, another coffee giant, isn't faring any better. Just last month, devastating floods wiped out nearly 30% of its coffee crops. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, where much of the world's Robusta beans come from, labor shortages have left thousands of coffee cherries rotting on the trees. Farmers simply don't have enough workers to harvest them, a lingering consequence of the pandemic's effect on global labor markets. Climate change is making everything worse. Coffee plants are incredibly sensitive to temperature shifts, and even a slight increase can impact both the quantity and quality of the beans. A recent study revealed that 60% of wild coffee species are now at risk of extinction. This isn't just a crisis for coffee drinkers, it's a catastrophe for the 125 million people worldwide who depend on coffee farming for their livelihood. So, what does this mean for you? The effects are already showing up in grocery stores. Some major retailers have started limiting purchases to 2 bags per customer. Starbucks just announced an 18% price hike starting next week. Specialty coffee roasters, the small businesses that bring us those rich, high-quality beans, are struggling to compete with big corporations for dwindling supplies. Arabica beans, the smooth, less bitter coffee most people prefer, are being hit hardest, and experts predict that by mid-March many grocery stores may run out entirely. Robusta beans, which have a stronger, more bitter taste, might still be available, but at nearly double their usual price. Even instant coffee, often made from lower-grade beans, isn't safe from price hikes, with major increases expected by early April. If coffee is part of your daily routine, Now might be the time to stock up. Storing your favorite beans in an airtight container in the freezer can keep them fresh for months. And if you're open to alternatives, tea production hasn't been hit as hard this year, at least for now. Some people even turn to chicory root, which has historically been used as a coffee substitute in times of shortage. Number 3. Certain citrus fruits. Let's talk about something that might hit your kitchen harder than you expect: citrus fruits. That fresh squeezed orange juice you love in the morning. The tangy burst of a lemon in your tea. They could become rare luxuries by the end of March. Why? Why? Florida, the heart of US citrus farming, just faced one of its worst seasons in nearly a century. 3 powerful hurricanes tore through groves at the worst possible time, right in the middle of the flowering season. That means not only is this year's harvest down by a staggering 63%, but the long-term recovery could take years. And it's not just an American problem. Across the ocean, Spain and Italy, 2 of Europe's biggest citrus suppliers, endured record-breaking winter heat, which has slashed lemon production by almost half. Imagine walking into your grocery store, heading to the produce section, and finding nothing but empty bins where your favorite citrus fruits used to be. It's already happening. Importers are prioritizing big commercial buyers over grocery stores, so while restaurants might still have lemons for your favorite dish, your local market may not. And it's not just oranges and lemons. Grapefruit is taking an even bigger hit, with 80% of the US supply coming from affected regions. Since January, prices have surged 45%, and some major grocery chains have already warned they can't guarantee citrus deliveries beyond mid-March. The effects ripple far beyond fresh fruit. Think about all the products that rely on citrus: marmalades, fruit juices, even those sparkling waters infused with a hint of orange or lime. And what about vitamin C supplements? Most people don't realize that the majority of natural vitamin C is derived from citrus byproducts. With fewer oranges and lemons, supplement manufacturers are scrambling for alternatives, meaning prices could soon skyrocket. If you rely on these for your immune health, it might be time to stock up. But what can you do? Some people are getting creative, freezing citrus juice while they still can, buying frozen concentrate, or even learning old-school preservation methods like salt curing and dehydrating. And here's something many don't think about: when one food becomes scarce, the demand for alternatives rises. If people can't find oranges, they'll turn to apples and berries instead, which means those prices will climb too. In fact, berry prices have already jumped 30% in just the last 3 weeks. So, what's your plan? Will you stock up now, adapt your recipes, or explore new ways to preserve citrus for the months ahead? These shortages are a wake-up call, reminding us how interconnected everything is. In Buddhism, there's a concept called pratititya samutpada, dependent origination, the idea that everything arises based on conditions. One event triggers another, creating a chain reaction. When we understand this, we can make better choices, not just for ourselves, but for our communities. So, as we face the possibility of disappearing citrus, maybe the real question isn't just about how we'll find lemons for our tea, but how we can embrace change with wisdom and resilience. What do you think? How will you prepare for this shift? Let's start the conversation. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of the curve in preparing for the shortages coming soon. Comment below with "Ready for March" to show you're staying informed and proactive. Don't go anywhere, there's still crucial information ahead to help you secure what you need before it's too late. Stay until the end to be fully prepared. Number 4. Cocoa products. Cocoa products are rapidly becoming a luxury rather than an everyday treat, and the situation is escalating faster than most people realize. Over the past year, cocoa prices have skyrocketed by a staggering 78%, reaching historic highs, and the worst is yet to come. The core issue lies in West Africa, which supplies 70% of the world's cocoa, but is now facing a disastrous growing season. In Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, cocoa production has plummeted by 30% in just the past month, with farmers battling a perfect storm of challenges: aging trees that produce fewer beans, relentless heat waves brought on by climate change, and a devastating viral disease called swollen shoot virus, which is wiping out entire farms. With supply dwindling, chocolate manufacturers are being forced to make tough decisions. Companies like Hershey's and Nestle have already begun reducing product sizes while quietly increasing prices, and the impact is being felt on store shelves. That chocolate bar you used to grab for $2, it's now pushing $3.50, and in many cases it's even smaller than before. But beyond price hikes, an even bigger problem is looming: availability. Retailers are bracing for a massive shortage, and by mid-March many chocolate products will disappear entirely, no matter how much you're willing to pay. High-quality dark chocolate, pure cocoa powder for baking, and seasonal Easter treats are expected to be the hardest to find, as companies shift focus to their most profitable bestsellers, cutting back on less essential items. The warnings from within the industry are alarming. One major supplier has already notified stores that they will only receive 40% of their usual chocolate inventory by the end of the month. Some retailers have even begun rationing, limiting customers to just 2 chocolate items per purchase to stretch their remaining stock. So what does this mean for you? If chocolate is a staple in your household, now is the time to act. Stock up on your favorite bars, baking chocolate and cocoa powder while you still can. These products have a long shelf life if stored properly in cool, dry conditions. If you're looking for alternatives, consider carob-based products, which offer a similar taste but come from an entirely different plant unaffected by the cocoa crisis. The reality is that we're entering a period where chocolate could become a rare and expensive commodity, and waiting until the shelves are empty will only leave you scrambling. Don't be caught off guard. Prepare now, because this shortage is no longer just speculation. Number 5. Olive oil. Olive oil is becoming one of the hardest grocery items to find, and if you've been paying attention to prices lately, you've probably noticed they're skyrocketing. But why is this happening? It all comes down to a devastating combination of extreme weather conditions hitting the Mediterranean, the heart of global olive oil production. Spain and Italy, which supply over 60% of the world's olive oil, are facing their worst harvests in decades. Reports from the International Olive Council confirm a massive 35% drop in production compared to last year. Think about that: more than a third of the usual supply simply isn't there. Last summer's relentless heat waves in Spain saw temperatures soaring to 115 degrees Fahrenheit for weeks, literally baking olives on the branches before they could be harvested. As if that wasn't enough, Italy then faced unexpected autumn floods, which drowned crops and left farmers struggling. One Italian farmer put it bluntly, "In 40 years, I've never seen anything like this." Our trees are stressed and producing fewer olives with less oil content. This isn't just a matter of quantity, it's also about quality. The most sought-after extra virgin olive oil, which requires pristine olives, will be especially hard to come by. And when you do find it, be prepared to pay a premium. Prices have already surged by 45% since November, and experts predict another 30% increase before the end of March. So, what does this mean for you? If olive oil is a staple in your kitchen, now is the time to act. Buying an extra bottle or two before prices climb even higher might be a smart move, especially if you prefer high-quality extra virgin olive oil. But what if you can't find it or don't want to pay the steep price? Fortunately, there are alternatives. Avocado oil is great for high-heat cooking, while walnut oil brings a rich, nutty flavor to salad dressings. Grapeseed oil is another versatile option, though with more people turning to substitutes, its price may start rising too. The good news? This shortage won't last forever. However, experts estimate it could take at least 6 to 8 months before fresh harvests start stabilizing supply. The lesson here is bigger than just one ingredient. It's a reminder of how deeply our food supply is connected to the environment. Climate change and unpredictable weather patterns are making agricultural production more volatile, and this is just one example of how it affects everyday essentials. So, as you plan your grocery shopping, it's worth considering how to adapt. What other products might be impacted next? How can we be more mindful of the food we rely on? Making small adjustments today can help you stay ahead of shortages and ensure you're prepared for whatever comes next. Number 6. Dairy alternatives. Let's talk about dairy alternatives, because if you rely on them, you might be in for a serious challenge in the coming weeks. The demand for plant-based milk, yogurt and cheese is skyrocketing, but supply simply can't keep up. Have you noticed how oat milk was once everywhere? Well, those days are fading fast. Several major brands have been forced to pause production due to equipment shortages, with key replacement parts delayed until at least June. And when it comes to almond milk, the situation is even worse. California's drought has caused almond yields to plummet by a staggering 31% compared to last year. Farmers are struggling to keep up, and major producers are now prioritizing their biggest customers, meaning smaller retailers and independent buyers might soon be out of luck. And if you prefer organic options, those will likely disappear first. But it's not just milk alternatives that are under pressure. Plant-based yogurts and cheeses are also becoming harder to find, largely due to a critical shortage of the specialized cultures required for fermentation. A key European supplier recently faced contamination issues, cutting off a major source of these essential ingredients. The result: fewer products on store shelves, higher prices, and longer wait times for restocking. Meanwhile, consumer demand for dairy-free options has surged by 27% in just the last quarter, yet production has only increased by a mere 8%. With numbers like that, shortages were inevitable. So what can you do about it? If you rely on dairy alternatives, whether for health reasons, dietary restrictions, or personal preference, now is the time to stock up. Look for shelf-stable options that can last longer in your pantry. And have you ever considered making your own oat milk at home? It's surprisingly simple, and it could save you from scrambling when your go-to brand is suddenly missing from the fridge section. The bigger question is, what does this mean for the future of plant-based dairy? Will we see a shift in how these products are made, sourced, or distributed? With climate challenges affecting crop yields and supply chain disruptions becoming the new normal, it's clear that food security isn't just about traditional staples like wheat and rice anymore. It's also about the alternatives that millions of people now depend on. So, as we move closer to the end of March, pay attention to what's happening in your local grocery stores. Are your favorite brands still available, or are they disappearing one by one? And most importantly, are you prepared if they do? You're already one step ahead by staying informed. Comment stocked and ready if you're preparing for these shortages. Keep watching. There's more crucial info ahead to help you stay ahead of the rush. Number 7. Specialty flours. Specialty flours are quickly becoming one of the hardest items to find on grocery store shelves, and if you rely on them for your baking or dietary needs, it's time to take notice. Imagine heading to the store, ready to grab a bag of almond flour for your favorite homemade bread, or some coconut flour for a healthier pancake recipe, only to find the shelves nearly empty and the prices skyrocketing. This isn't just an occasional inconvenience, it's becoming a widespread problem driven by global supply chain disruptions, extreme weather conditions, and a surge in demand that's outpacing production. Unlike traditional wheat flour, which is produced in massive quantities, specialty flours rely on more specific ingredients that are often sourced from select regions. Take almond flour, for example. It's primarily produced in California, a state that has been battling severe droughts, water restrictions, and fluctuating almond yields. Coconut flour, on the other hand, is mostly imported from tropical regions, where rising transportation costs and logistical delays are making it more expensive and harder to get. Even oat flour, which has grown in popularity thanks to gluten-free diets, is facing shortages due to lower harvests and higher demand. The root of the issue goes beyond just production challenges. The specialty flour market has been expanding rapidly, fueled by the rise in health-conscious eating habits. More people are opting for grain-free, high-protein, or alternative flours as they follow keto, paleo, and gluten-free diets. What was once a niche market catering to a select group of consumers has now become a mainstream trend. A report from the business research company highlights that the global specialty flour market is expected to grow to $13.25 billion by 2025, at an annual rate of 10.2%. However, production isn't keeping up with this growth, creating a classic case of high demand and limited supply. This is why we're seeing empty shelves, rising prices, and an overall struggle to keep these flours in stock. Beyond just almond, coconut, and oat flour, other alternatives like chickpea and cassava flour are also experiencing supply issues. These flours have become a staple in plant-based and gluten-free diets, and manufacturers weren't fully prepared for the surge in demand. Even niche ingredients like matcha powder, which has become popular in baking and beverages, have seen supply constraints, meaning that trendy recipes might soon be a luxury. If you depend on specialty flours for your cooking and baking, now is the time to get ahead of these shortages. The best approach is to stock up when you can. If you find your preferred flour available at a reasonable price, consider buying an extra bag or two. Proper storage is key, so keep flours in airtight containers in a cool, dry place to extend their shelf life. If your go-to flour is out of stock, be open to substitutions. Almond flour can often be replaced with hazelnut or sunflower seed flour, while oat flour can be made at home by blending rolled oats into a fine powder. Another option is to explore local suppliers instead of relying solely on big grocery chains. Farmers markets, small mills and specialty food stores may have better availability. Online shopping can also be a good backup plan, as certain retailers might still have inventory when physical stores run out. As we move further into 2025, the availability of specialty flours is only going to get tighter, making it more important than ever to plan ahead. Whether you're someone who bakes occasionally or relies on these flours for dietary reasons, being proactive will save you both time and money. The combination of supply chain challenges, unpredictable harvests, and surging demand means that specialty flours are becoming a hot commodity, much like other essential grocery items that have faced shortages in recent years. If you don't want to be left scrambling when supplies run low, now is the time to think ahead, stock up wisely, and be flexible with alternatives. Number 8. Certain meat cuts. Certain meat cuts are about to get much harder to find, and if you're planning a special meal, this shortage could hit home faster than you think. Just a year ago, you could walk into any grocery store and pick up your favorite cut without a second thought, but those days are fading fast. Meat processing costs have surged by 17% since January, putting enormous pressure on suppliers. Smaller processors are struggling to stay afloat, and in just the past month, 3 major facilities in the Midwest have shut down. The biggest issue: a worsening labor shortage. Processing plants are running at only 72% capacity, a sharp drop from last year's 88%, which means less meat is making it to store shelves. So what's disappearing first? If you love a perfectly marbled ribeye or a tender filet mignon, be prepared for disappointment. These cuts are already in short supply, with current inventory down a staggering 43% compared to this time last year. If you were planning to treat yourself to a special dinner, now is the time to buy and freeze them while you still can. But it's not just high-end steaks that are vanishing. Pork shoulder, a favorite for smoking and slow cooking, is also becoming scarce as demand far outpaces supply. Warehouse stocks of pork shoulder have dropped by more than half in just 8 weeks, making it one of the fastest disappearing meat options right now. And if you're a fan of chicken wings, brace yourself. There's a serious shortage brewing just in time for March Madness and spring gatherings. With demand soaring and production struggling to keep up, analysts warn that prices could double by mid-March if things don't turn around soon. So what can you do? Instead of scrambling for these disappearing cuts, consider alternatives that are still readily available and often more budget-friendly. Chuck roast, pork loin, and chicken thighs remain easier to find and can be just as delicious with the right preparation. Another smart move: support your local butcher. Many small butchers source their meat directly from nearby farms, which means they're less affected by the disruptions rocking major supply chains. This is one of those moments where a little planning goes a long way. Waiting too long might mean empty shelves and skyrocketing prices. So ask yourself, are you ready for what's coming, or will you be left searching when it's too late? Making smart choices now can help you stay ahead of the curve and ensure that your meals don't suffer from the impact of these shortages. Number 9. Fresh berries. Fresh berries are on the brink of becoming a rare luxury as we approach the end of March 2025, and if you thought last year's prices were high, Brace yourself for what's coming. A combination of extreme weather patterns, labor shortages, and disrupted supply chains is setting the stage for a berry shortage that will hit grocery store shelves hard. California, one of the biggest berry producers in the US, has just experienced its driest winter in 15 years, with rainfall plummeting 42% below average. This lack of moisture has put immense stress on crops, reducing yields and pushing farmers to either cut back production or risk losses. Meanwhile, Florida, another key supplier of early-season berries, was hit by not one, not two, but three unexpected frost events in January, wiping out nearly 30% of its early harvest. These sudden temperature swings are wreaking havoc on growers, leaving consumers with fewer options and skyrocketing prices. But this isn't just a domestic problem. Mexico, which typically fills the supply gap when US production falls short, has reported a dramatic 35% drop in berry exports. Why? Farmers are struggling to find workers as labor shortages push employees into better-paying industries, leaving vast stretches of farmland unharvested. Without Mexico stepping in to stabilize the market, the strain on supply is only going to get worse. So what does this mean for you? If you're used to grabbing a pack of strawberries for $3.99, get ready to see them priced at a jaw-dropping $8.99 per pound if you can even find them. Blueberries, another household favorite, aren't doing any better, with their cost expected to soar to $7.50 for a tiny 6-ounce container. And as for organic raspberries, some major grocery chains are already making the call to stop ordering them entirely once wholesale prices climb too high, meaning they'll disappear from shelves altogether. In fact, one insider at a leading supermarket revealed that their company is planning to shrink berry shelf space by 40% over the next couple of months, replacing them with more stable and affordable produce options. So, what's your best move? The frozen aisle is your friend right now. Frozen berries are still reflecting last season's pricing, making them a budget-friendly and nutritionally comparable alternative to fresh. But don't wait too long. Once current inventories run out, those prices will climb too. If you want to take it a step further, consider buying fresh berries now and freezing them yourself. This way you can still enjoy your favorite fruits without paying premium prices later. And if you absolutely must have fresh berries, check out farmers' markets or local greenhouse farms. Yes, you'll pay a premium, but at least you'll have access to quality produce when mainstream grocery stores start running out. In uncertain times like these, being proactive with your shopping habits can make all the difference. Number 10. Rice varieties. Rice, one of the most essential staple foods in the world, is becoming harder to find, and if you haven't noticed it yet, you soon will. Picture yourself walking into your favorite grocery store, heading straight for that familiar bag of jasmine or basmati rice, only to be met with empty shelves and a small sign that reads, "Temporarily out of stock." Confusion sets in. You might wonder, did I miss something? Why is rice suddenly disappearing? Unfortunately, this isn't just a temporary supply issue, it's part of a larger crisis unfolding worldwide. A combination of extreme weather, export restrictions, and supply chain disruptions has led to the most significant rice shortage in nearly 2 decades, and the effects are rippling across grocery stores, restaurants, and global markets. If you rely on rice as a key part of your meals, now is the time to understand why this is happening and, more importantly, what you can do about it before prices soar even higher. The world's rice supply is under immense pressure, with prices reaching record highs not seen since 2008. In 2023 alone, the global rice shortfall reached a staggering 8.5 million metric tons, the largest deficit in almost 20 years. To put that into perspective, imagine the entire population of the United States suddenly losing access to rice for a full year. But what's behind this crisis? The answer lies in a perfect storm of factors. Climate change has disrupted traditional growing seasons, with devastating floods in some regions wiping out entire harvests, while relentless heat waves and droughts in others have reduced yields by as much as 30%. Farmers in countries like India, Thailand, Vietnam, and Pakistan, some of the world's largest rice producers, are struggling to keep up with demand, as unpredictable weather patterns make rice cultivation more difficult than ever before. Adding to the problem, many of these nations are holding onto their rice stocks instead of exporting them, hoping to protect their own populations from soaring food prices. Perhaps the biggest player in this crisis is India, the world's largest rice exporter, which has implemented multiple export restrictions since 2022 in an effort to control domestic inflation. In July 2023, India abruptly banned the export of non-basmati white rice, triggering panic among rice-importing nations like the Philippines, Indonesia, and even parts of the United States. Almost overnight, global rice prices shot up by as much as 20%, forcing consumers to either pay more or find alternatives. While the ban was partially eased in late 2024, it came with a catch. India introduced a minimum export price for rice, making it significantly more expensive than before. This has left many countries struggling to afford the imports they once relied on, leading to unpredictable supply and rising prices at grocery stores worldwide. Not all rice varieties are equally affected, but some of the most popular ones are at the highest risk of disappearing. Jasmine and basmati rice favorites among households and restaurants are becoming increasingly scarce due to stricter export rules from major producers like Thailand, Vietnam, and India. In the United States, Calrose rice, which is widely used in sushi and everyday meals, is also facing production challenges. California, a key producer of this short-grain rice, has been hit by severe droughts and water shortages, reducing overall output. Meanwhile, brown rice, a healthier option, often chosen for its nutritional benefits, is suffering from a shorter shelf life compared to white rice, making it less of a priority for suppliers trying to maximize profits during uncertain times. Even Japan, known for its strong rice-growing tradition, is feeling the heat literally. Rising temperatures have severely impacted traditional Japanese rice varieties, forcing the government to promote heat-resistant strains in hopes of preventing future shortages. Experts warn that without major intervention, global rice production could drop by up to 15% by 2050, making shortages and price hikes even more severe in the years ahead. So, what does this mean for you? First and foremost, expect rice prices to continue rising in the coming months. If rice is a staple in your household, now is the time to stock up while prices are still somewhat stable. You look for non-perishable varieties that can be stored for long periods, and consider diversifying your diet with other grains like quinoa, barley, or couscous options that are less affected by these global supply chain disruptions. Additionally, supporting sustainable farming practices can make a real difference. Many farmers are now exploring water-efficient rice-growing techniques and developing new heat-resistant strains to combat climate change's impact on production. By choosing to buy from brands that invest in sustainable agriculture, You are not just securing your own supply, you are also contributing to a more stable global food system. This is not just a short-term issue, it is a warning sign of deeper food security challenges. Rice shortages today may seem like an inconvenience, but if these trends continue, we could be looking at a future where something as basic as rice becomes a luxury. The next time you see a higher price tag on your favorite bag of rice, you will know exactly why. The real question is, will you be prepared before this staple food becomes even harder to find? As you can see, global food shortages are becoming more unpredictable, and the grocery items we take for granted today might not be on the shelves tomorrow. The key takeaway: awareness and preparation. By staying informed and taking small steps now, whether it's stocking up on essentials, exploring alternatives, or supporting sustainable practices, you can navigate these challenges with confidence. What do you think about these shortages? Are you already noticing changes at your local grocery store? Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Journey of Wisdom. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming videos on important topics like this. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.